my way to pick up Kintan Brahmbhatt. Kintan is head of product at Amazon Music and has worked on startups since graduating from Purdue almost a decade ago. His first startup was SecureMed, and since then he has been involved in launching several products at Microsoft, IMDb, and Amazon, as well as an early angel investor in startups like Twilio, Bloom.that, Ship, and Lovely. Kintan is an old friend of mine from high school. He's also a very valued advisor for Summon on product. I will be taking Kintan from his home to the Ship headquarters. Ship, one of his portfolio companies, is in the business of making shipping easier.
How's it going?
Good.
You're on camera.
Alright.
Your first startup, I think straight after school at Purdue. In school,
Yeah.
was SecureMed.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about SecureMed. What were the challenges? What were the interesting things?
Yeah, SecureMed was one of those. So I've always been passionate about customers, and SecureMed taught me in very real way that at least at the time, it was 10 years or so ago, and I was a student when I was trying to start it. It was a healthcare company focused on a variety of health services, and we pivoted multiple times. That the healthcare system in the US at the time was not optimized for the patients. All the stakeholders optimized, different aspects of the healthcare system are optimized for either the payers or the physicians or the insurance companies or the pharmaceutical companies or the hospital networks and HMOs, but not the patients. Most of the there's been billions of dollars of investment in healthcare, but most of it has been in diagnostics and care, not on the business of healthcare, or not on the customer experience, the patient experience. We're trying to address that. We found as a startup it was extremely difficult to do it in a sustainable way where we optimize for patient care, because none of the stakeholders were incentivized to do that. I'm actually very glad to see some of the reforms that have come in over the last few years that are showing a ray of hope for healthcare startups in general. My biggest lesson in SecureMed was that healthcare, the business of healthcare was not optimized for startups at least several years ago, and I'm actually extremely happy to see that it has now changed for the better.
You've invested in a lot of on-demand startups. You're an advisor to Summon. You've invested in Ship. You've invested in Bloom.that, I believe.
Yes.
And what are some things about the whole on-demand revolution that again are maybe not as intuitive to people, that you think are either risks or opportunities?
I think the whole aspect of marketplaces and the fact that these on-demand services are leveraging technology, specifically some smart logistics software, as well as on the back end, as well as just the proliferation of smartphones for the end consumers to deliver a significantly better experience, customer experience for the consumers, as well as larger revenues and more efficiencies for the suppliers. They are changing several industries, whether it's logistics and shipping, whether it's food delivery, whether it's flower delivery, or in someone's case, on-demand transportation. So the highest order bit there is leveraging technology to fundamentally change how a large incumbent industry has been operating for decades. That's been the biggest motivator for me to associate or participate in the revolution.
Cool. Why do you invest in startups? Is it, what motivates you?
I'm an entrepreneur, and I love entrepreneur journeys to build something that will make a meaningful difference in the market, in customers' lives, and so on. So when I meet entrepreneurs and see that they are working to fundamentally change something in a meaningful way, I try to associate myself and be helpful. So that's my primary motivation, is to be closer to the entrepreneurs and be a small part of the innovations they are doing.
of the investments that you've made, which one do you think was the most ambitious one that maybe had the highest chance of failing, but if it succeeded would have had the most impact?
Yeah, I'd say not from a highest chance of failure, but it was definitely the most ambitious as well as untested field was Twilio. One of my portfolio companies is Twilio, which provides voice and SMS platform for developers. And I believe when I met Jeff and team in 2008 or so on, the field was very nascent. To incorporate a voice API required you to have work with either very clumsy open source software or work directly with the telecoms. And Twilio painted a picture of a much simpler vision that allowed developers to incorporate complex voice functionality in their applications with a few lines of code. So I think it was, if it worked, it was going to be a large opportunity, and that's what attracted me to Twilio. And so far it's still early, but so far we've already seen so many thousands or tens of thousands of applications, if not more, being powered successfully by Twilio. So that's been one of the highlights.
Mm-hmm. We were one of the early users of Twilio, I think back in 2009.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember actually looking at the open source stack, buying hardware to build our own VoIP sort of server, and then discovering Twilio and the delight that we felt at being able to go from actually wanting to build something to building it in 5 days instead of 50 days of figuring out the VoIP stack.
50 days plus hiring subject matter experts who know the voice or IP stacks and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of successful startups have something somewhat counterintuitive, or at least not as well known, that is one of the key reasons why they succeed. For example, having talked to Jonathan Golden and a couple of guys at Airbnb, I think one of the turning points in Airbnb's life was when they discovered that the photographs of the places that they took really mattered. And I think this is somewhat well known now.
Yeah.
But it was there's still this almost incredibly manual, unscalable idea of going to every single property that's listed on Airbnb and taking designer quality photographs of it and to put up on the site. And as a user now, I can see how if someone just took a photo of if I just took a photo of my house in Shambles today and put it up versus someone took a professional photo of it, how much more comfortable it would make someone who's looking for a hotel versus an Airbnb field.
Totally.
Can you think of things like that? Is there a thing like that you think was behind the success of Twilio, or maybe another company that you're aware of that succeeded?
Yeah, I think Twilio's secret sauce was developer support. I remember very clearly when Jeff was pitching Twilio to investors, he didn't really have a deck. Maybe he had a very small deck, but no, he actually started the pitch with the terminal open and said, okay, what voice application would you like to build? I remember when I first met with him, he built the functionality of Grand Central, which was a recent acquisition by Google at the time. In course of our conversation in less than 10 minutes as part of his pitch. So I didn't need to look at the slide deck or investment pitch deck to believe in what Twilio could do. In terms of coming back to the question, I think Twilio, I have a very high degree of confidence that Twilio has worked very closely with the entire developer ecosystem. I remember even today there was Jeff was on the customer support answering line right now earlier in the morning.
Wow.
So I think that was curating and growing the developer ecosystem was the highlight. It was one of the high order bits for Twilio.
That's a fascinating
in addition
anecdote.
to simplicity. Yeah,
it's a fascinating anecdote. The idea that instead of having a pitch deck, Jeff was there just building the application in the course of a pitch.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Have there been any insights that weren't obvious when you say graduated from school that you learned and then that you think are worth sharing?
Yeah, I think I'd always had this notion or a mental trade-off that I was willing to take or deciding to take between depth and breadth. So as I grew as a person, both professionally as an entrepreneur, an investor, there was always this mental trade-off that I tried to optimize for between, like, should I go deep in a certain topic, or should I go broad and have be a generalist? And then until one of my mentors told me or pointed out that, hey, Bill Gates is a generalist if you look at it, and a good generalist is a specialist in a lot of things. So there is no trade-off between being a specialist or a generalist. If you want to be a generalist, try to be a specialist in a lot of things. But there is no alternative, or it's very imperative that whatever you are doing, you dive deep and you go deep enough to it. I think that was not very obvious to me until that conversation. And then when I looked at some of the successful entrepreneurs and people I respect, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, they're all they play a role of a generalist, but they've all been specialists in multiple things, in multiple areas, and that's what played a big role in their success as well. So that has been the biggest insight of my professional career.
That's fascinating. I think one of the challenges is time, right? And I think this is the challenge that all of us have.
Yeah.
And something I have learned that wasn't as obvious to me early on was the secret sauce. Every company has something specific, like we talked about Twilio with their developer relations, or Airbnb with their real focus on having a great experience with photos. But one thing I've seen consistently across most successful companies is discipline.
Yeah.
And I think it's this idea of very early members of the team having in place a system or a routine that allows them to do a large number of things well.
Yeah.
Is there how do you plan your week? What are the things that you do that allow you to become a specialist in a lot of things?
Well, I'm not a specialist in as many things as I want to be.
Fair enough.
I'm not a biggest most efficient time planner, but my approach has been to really get things done on time, and even if that means not sleeping regularly or not doing other things until the predetermined set of tasks are done. So it's been a bit of a brute force approach, but that has served me well, where I have a list of things that I strive to get done in a certain time frame, and I don't take on other things until I get them done.
Tell us about 2 or 3 apps that you use that you really like, that you think are underhyped right now.
I think I'm not sure if they're underhyped, but I really the apps I use on a almost daily basis are Pocket and Buffer.
Wow. Okay.
That help with my journey of discovering and consuming information and sharing it within my circle. I also use this lesser known app called Tame, T-A-M-E.
Okay.
The URL is tame.it, I think. Essentially, it gives me 10 links, the top 10 links that have been favorited and shared within my Twitter network, and that has helped me significantly in producing the most relevant links over the course of those 24 hours. It sends me an email digest once a day, and has a great app as well, where it helps me prioritize the 10 articles I should read on a daily basis. And it's the quality control is not an issue, because I follow a certain set of people on Twitter, and these are curated by them, and it just prioritizes top 10 links. So it is a big component of my information consumption journey.
That's fascinating. All right.
Cool. Ciao.
Good talk.
As always. Yeah.
And we have appropriately arrived at ship.
Yes. All right.
Take
Let's
care.
catch up later.
Let's do that.